Free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope, free dope. Ooh. You're now tapped in to Free Dope, the greatest podcast in the world, each week. Bringing you topical conversations that are sometimes intelligent but absolutely undeniably hilarious. Yeah, we'll see about that. Podcasting from a city near you, Free Dope starts now.
Huge freaking announcement right now. We're going to go to 2 days a week. It's like a big deal, you know?
Hey.
Yeah, there we go. Got my guest on right there. What's up, Billy? It's a huge deal. Like, when I first launched the podcast, I wanted to do, you know, a 2 day a week kind of deal. But I started with one to see how it went. I think one is going good, but there's so much stuff to talk about to only do 1 day a week. So the Monday episodes are going to have some type of theme alliteration to them. It's going to be M Monday. So like an M word Monday, right? Like,
okay.
You know, I don't know if it's going to be mental health Monday or mindset Monday. Which one should we go with today?
Mindset Monday is good. I think Mindset Monday encompasses a lot, you know?
All right. So let's call them Mindset Mondays. So this is like the first Mindset Monday episode. What's good, Billy?
What's good?
Am I calling you Billy today or Maddox?
We could go with Billy.
Okay, there we go.
It's a Billy day.
That's like the weirdest thing. It still is the fact that, you know, I've known you for a while now, but I've never called you Maddox. I've only called you Billy. But like,
you know what's funny? It sounds strange coming out of certain people's mouths. Right?
Oh, really?
Like, like even you saying Maddox before, it's like, wow, I don't know.
What you're saying? I'm not the kind of friend. Is what you're saying?
Just call me Billy.
I'm not a Maddox friend. I'm a Billy friend. All right, cool then. Fine then. No, but
compartmentalizing.
Yeah, man. So thanks for hopping on with me, because like for the first Mindset Monday episode, I just want to make this like a space to really just talk about stuff that's gone on in the lives of us young gentlemen, the creators of the world. Because I feel like there's a lot of, there's not a lot of space, I feel, especially for Black men, to discuss certain things as feelings.
That's true.
You know, so that's kind of like, you know,
true.
What I want to do with these episodes right here for the podcast. And of course, hit you with that free dope, get you hooked, get you stimulated, you know, and give you some wisdom as well in the process. But today, I just want to talk about therapy, because I had my first in-person therapy session. It's something I talked about on, I think, episode 3, just about there, that I was enrolling in therapy. I did it. I had my first session today.
Hey, that's big.
Thank you.
That's big.
It happened at 10 a.m. And as expected, tears started flowing.
As it should.
So sad, it's been one of them days, man. But like for the longest time, I felt like mental health has been something that's been stigmatized in a way, right?
Yeah.
Especially within the Black community. One of those things in which either if you have, as a man, as a Black man, if you have these issues that you want to talk about, you're either a punk, right? Or you can be considered weak, or, you know, if you're like really, really religious, it's nothing but the devil.
Right.
Getting to you, you know. So like, I think within our community itself, we have such a hard time when it comes to speaking about our feelings, going to therapy, getting help. And a lot of times we think it's something that you got to do at the very last possible second to save whatever relationship, either with yourself or with somebody else that you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And even coming up like elementary school, right? And you would hear about kids that had therapists. And I think for me, that was my first introduction to the idea of having a therapist. But it was always stigmatized. Like, oh, this kid, there's something wrong with this kid. He was never, you know, he's never like well-adjusted, or his family cared about him.
That's because, they send you to the counselor's office, right? Like you're bad, you go to the counselor's office. That's a school therapist. So you're right. Like starting young, you have this idea that only the bad people went to the counselors, or, you know, talk to the school therapist.
Exactly. Right. Hyperactive. Oh, you got to go to the counselor. You got to go. There's something wrong with you, you know? But then, you know, also just culturally growing up in, you know, urban Tampa, that's not a thing. Therapy is not a thing,
Mm,
you know, to grow up. I mean, in a single parent home, like for one, there was no money for therapy.
mm,
Two, there was no thought about, oh, well, even if there's nothing wrong with my kid, a therapist is great because they're able to process feelings that maybe the child parent dynamic can't isn't allowing the kid to process,
right,
you know?
right.
So my first therapy session was years ago, man,
Yeah.
and it was like some couples therapy,
Hmm.
trying to salvage a relationship. And since then I started going to solo therapy.
Yeah.
This was when I was still in Tampa, so this is a while ago. And then once I moved out to LA, I just didn't have, maybe I'm not gonna say not have access. I didn't have the maybe the impetus to go find a therapist to continue to talk to somebody every day or every week.
Hmm.
Um, so then I started again over the summer, and
What caused you to start over
yeah,
the summer?
over the summer,
Yeah.
just a breakup, relationship
Ugh.
breakup, man, and you take time, I think, to reflect on things that you could have done differently. You know,
Hmm.
I think every relationship is 50-50,
Yeah.
but I think you definitely take some time to think about what could have done better, what you could have done better,
Right.
where you could have helped correct issues as a couple versus, you know, just letting things ride and being consumed by whatever's going on in the relationship.
Yeah.
Um, but also being aware, I think I was also aware of like, yeah, there's shit that I need to deal with from like childhood trauma and
Mm.
relationship or the lack of a relationship with my dad, you know?
And that's some things we never talk about it is the trauma and triggers. You know, like there's
Yeah.
so much shit that we're holding on to, right? Some things that we've done, some things that were put upon us. But as
Right.
you go through life, you start seeing things through that particular lens. That's
Yep.
like, you know,
Yep.
you can have one situation and people see it two different ways, multiple different ways, because everybody has their prior circumstances, their triggers, their traumas, whatever, you know, that they've been through in their life to inform their point of view in that particular instance right there. And it's
Hmm.
very important that we become aware of those. And so, you know, you're not always thinking everybody's out to get you and playing the victim.
Right. 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 I think that comes with just maturity
Yeah.
and a level of awareness that, you know, people see things differently. And whether it's in a relationship, whether it's a romantic, personal, professional, like just because of how they see the world, you don't have to take it personal, you know?
That's how I she wasn't my wife at the time, but I guess it's kind of how I got her in some more Christian.
Hmm.
We had like this disagreement about, I forgot what it was about, but it was about something though, right? And it's like it wasn't a big disagreement at all. Like, I mean, what we were disagreeing about was trivial, but it
Hmm.
was a big disagreement for me on my end, right?
Right.
And
Right.
you know, as I'm going through it, like why I'm mad, and like, you know, I didn't really blow up, but like I was visibly agitated and upset, and you know, she knew that, and you know, we both like had like, you know, this talk, and then as we were talking, as you know, I started to cool down in the middle of like the discussion. I was like, you know what, my bad, like I'm hella triggered right now.
Mm.
You know, like it's nothing you did. I can see now that I'm triggered, you know, by situations from the past coming back up in this particular instance right here. That's reminding me of some
Yeah.
stuff I've been through, and I'm applying those feelings from back then into this situation right now with you. So I apologize for that. You know, it's my bad. Um, and then I'm quoting her. She said she said she called her friends after that. Um, and then, and then she's like, yo, he's talking about triggers and traumas. And then friends are like, bitch, he's a keeper. Like a black man talking about triggers and traumas. Like keep him for sure. But like, you know, it was like, because when I had met her, like I was coming into this, uh, you know, like you hit a certain part of life where you become more self-aware, right? Like you start doing the work
Right.
on yourself, the inner work. And like I was doing that. I was in that process right there of like doing my inner work. It's like I knew how to identify them after a while, you know, instead of like as I'm
Yep.
going through, I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I'm feeling. Like I guess I had something, you know, the ability to identify why I was feeling a certain way.
Hmm.
But I'm still not perfect, whatever, you know. But like, yeah, I was going through that. So luckily I was able to pinpoint it in that in that instance early on in the relationship, and then from there, like, we're able to communicate on that level.
Right. And that's so important, man. Cause it's easy, and I know this is what my this last relationship was guilty of.
Mm.
We were friends for so long, like really close friends, like best friends. And it became romantic, and we slipped into this uh world of competing to have our needs met,
Mm.
right? There was neither of us took a step back and was like, I'm sorry, this is I'm pulling this into from some previous shit,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm bringing it into this, and it's not you, it's me. And we were both guilty of that. And then that takes you into a whole different world of communication in a relationship that's just not sustainable.
How old were you guys when you started that relationship?
I was 40, she was 36.
And that's what.
30, 35, 35.
Yeah, and it's
Wait, 30, 30. Yeah, same shit. Go ahead.
she,
4 years. We were 4 years apart.
there you
Somewhere
go.
around there.
She's somewhere inside there. But that's the thing, though, right? Like, we're talking about, triggers and traumas, and you have all your lived experiences. And as you get older into relationships in your 40s and late 30s, you have so many, you have much more life experience, right? In all that
Absolutely.
stuff that you're bringing into the relationship from the past, from past disappointments,
Yeah,
failures, whatever it is, right? You have that much more stuff you're bringing into a relationship at that age and older.
yep.
That is really important that you're aware of it.
Yeah, aware of it, and also, like, sometimes I think people feel that they're healed,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
uh, but they're not. I know
Mm.
that's one thing that I wish I went into this relationship with,
Yeah.
is being healed. I saw this thing on Instagram. It said, "Are you truly healed, or is just no one around to trigger you?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, that's me." Because I
Yeah.
take a lot of time between relationships, and
Yeah.
I try to process shit. But like going into this relationship, it was like, damn, there was a lot of shit that triggered me because I wasn't fully healed and I wasn't doing the work.
Mm.
I think that's key, right? Doing the work before you get into that next relationship.
You make the point in which people think they're actually healed, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that's a huge thing. Is there's different levels of healing.
Hmm.
Like, sometimes people are good at masking, sometimes you're good at repressing.
Right.
you know um and are you I don't think you can ever be truly fully healed. Perhaps you just know how to cope with certain.
Right. Yeah. It's a process, man.
Yeah,
It's a continuous process and
yeah,
evolution.
yeah. So, like, I guess what I'm saying is that you come into a relationship, like, there's this whole thing in which, like, people think you have to be a fully healed person in order to get into a relationship. Who's to say, like, when you're fully healed, right? Like, is there such thing as being fully healed? Like, you can be a better version of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
I,
mean? But is
yeah.
is, is it
No,
possible to be like 100%, like, with all the life experiences and everything you've been through? There's always going to be
I don't,
something there that you're holding on
yeah,
to.
there's always going to be something that impacts you at a core level,
Hmm.
right? Whether it's work, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a family dynamic. So, like, no matter if you started a relationship tomorrow and you feel that you're fully healed, like, life is still continuing.
Right.
Life is still gonna life, and it's gonna impact you, and there's gonna be things that wound you, and you gotta heal from that. So it's a constant thing. I think going into a relationship is, you have to have a self-awareness, but also, like, you take ownership for your own shit, of
Hmm.
course, but also hope that you have a partner that, when you're lacking and not being self-aware, that they can be aware enough to be like, yo, let's take a step back, let's figure this out, we're gonna make this shit work together. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a partnership in making sure that we're both trying to perform at our best for each other and for
Yeah.
the sake of the union.
And you're touching on communication right there, but, like, it's
Yeah.
it's not up to, like, a lot of people think it's up to your partner to heal you, right? Like, I'm gonna get into this relationship right here, and then, this person right here, you're saving me. I'm a
Right.
huge person because of you. I'm a better person because of you. All this stuff, right? It's very romantic. It's the shit that you see on Lifetime movies, but you're also putting an unfair burden on that person, to maintain
100%.
your happiness when you're responsible for finding
Your own.
your own, Right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, and that's where
Therapy comes in.
this therapy comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like your partner isn't your therapist.
Hmm.
They can be your support, your confidant, a consultant for things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to like unpack things that are like really bothering you, it's just like what I was saying with the kid and needing a therapist because they can't necessarily process shit with
Hmm.
their parents. That's It's important that I think both partners are able to talk to a therapist and go through those fears and insecurities and whatever else may be bothering them, and then if it's something that's related to the relationship, then to come back and have like a healthy conversation about whatever it is.
Yeah, and especially from a black male perspective, because I think a lot of us are raised to not rock the boat, right? Like when you're coming up
Right.
as a black boy, do as you're told, don't speak out of
Hmm.
turn, don't do this, don't do that, right? Like just
Right.
have this rigid form of existing that you have to
Yeah.
adhere to,
Yeah.
and that also translates into whatever issues you bring into relationships as a grown man.
Yep. It comes into people pleasing,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
I know I can speak for myself. Like growing up in the hood in Tampa, right? I went to private school first,
Hmm.
but as I grew up, it was like almost this pressure to be like to present myself as like the good black man, the
Yeah.
good black boy, the good black teen of like being like you said, being cordial and like being a people pleaser, pretty
Hmm.
much, right? But there's pressure that comes with that. There's a lot of internal struggle that comes with people pleasing because your own needs aren't met for the sake of other people. that that shit becomes like a part of you when you shouldn't have to deal with stuff like
100%.
that. You
Because
know what I'm saying?
I grew up in Orange County, not Florida, but like Orange County, California, right?
Hmm.
And for a lot of the time growing up, we were the only black family in all the neighborhoods we lived in. So on the opposite side of that, it was still, a lot of people pleasing, right? Like
Right.
they're going to look at you differently because you're black. You got to work twice as hard. You got to do A+ work just to get a C in the class, that kind of mentality,
Right.
right?
Right.
So again, it's, although there were two different socioeconomic, environments, at the core, it's still the same, comes down to people pleasing, right? And
Yep. Yep.
that same way to navigate life. And in my first session today, he asked me about how I'm received within my community. He's like, "How are you received within the African American community?"
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh boy!" I was like, "That's oh boy!" I'm like, now we're going to hit some shit right here.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be cussing. Now we're gonna hit some stuff right here. I got told I cussed too much, so I'm trying to like make a little
Oh,
better.
damn. Okay.
Yeah, make the episodes more
I'll be
palatable.
aware of it too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
So he asked me, like, he's like, "How are you received within the African American community?" I'm like, "Now it's good. Now it's great now." But coming up, it was what we talked about, right? The people pleasing, the fact that you know I get hit with the, "Oh, you speak so well. Oh, you're so you're so intelligent. Oh, you're really white because
Right.
you listen to Incubus, right?" It's that kind of stuff. Now that more I have these conversations that we're having now, especially with other black men, it comes to this thing in which I'm like, I'm not all alone. I'm not that different from,
Right.
it's like they want you to adhere to a certain stereotype, a certain image they have of you. And when you don't,
Yep.
they don't know how to box you in. And I like the fact that we're starting to see now for people after us, black men like you and I, who are, what they want to say, well spoken, right? But it's just,
Hmm.
it's like it's the way that we live. It's the way that it's the way it's possible to live life this way. I should say,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. And how your therapist asked you how you received in the black community,
Yeah,
like growing up, I mean, my closest friends were white and Hispanic,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Me too. Yeah,
Hispanic in my neighborhood, white in school. And it's not until I moved to LA that I've had like a large core of a black community around me that I can say are my friends, and it's not that
yeah.
I didn't have like associates or people that I'd hang out with that are black in Florida, but it just I don't know if I didn't feel like I fit in or they didn't feel like I fit in,
I think it was
but it
both for
was,
me. Yeah,
yeah,
it's both for
it was
me.
definitely
Yeah,
it's definitely harder to like. I don't know. I
Mm.
don't know where that comes from, but it's interesting he asked you that.
Yeah, no, I thought of something like as you were talking. I think it kind of just hit me because in the high schools, right? I think there's like 33 and a half black kids
Hmm.
in the high school, but it was like, it was almost like this friction, this competition in a way to see who could fit in the most,
Mm,
and
mm.
it created like sort of like cliques here and there of like, like
Oh, that's interesting.
like
Like
like like like you're
who's
not.
the in black man?
Yeah, exactly. And so,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
measuring up to their level of, their ideal black teenager at that time,
right,
right? So you couldn't come in the crew,
right.
right? So you know what I mean? It's like that, and that carried all throughout college as well. It was like it's
Yeah.
just one of those things in which being in areas where I guess that's more suburban, at least out here from my perspective, where you don't have
Hmm.
this large black population. Everybody's in competition with each
Right,
other to see who could
right.
be the most in. It seems like
That's interesting. Like the most accepted by the white community that you're existing in.
but also most accepted within the black community. It's like
Oh,
there are certain things you have to like check off. It feels like, or at least it felt like.
got you, got you, got you.
It's like, and it could become to the fact that I was considered too white, by a lot of people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was goofy, right? I listened to rock music,
Right.
I had my pop Hollister
Yeah,
collar, and like ripped jeans and some rainbow flip flop sandals on, right? I'm just like a surfer guy.
seashell,
I had a puka
seashell.
shell necklace. Hell yeah, I did. Hell yeah, I did, man. I had a puka shell necklace, bro. I tried to frost my tips at one point. My parents wouldn't let me.
I love.
No, no, but that's what it came down to. So now I got to go back, and I'm just gonna take that note to talk about more in my next therapy session. And the
Hmm.
funniest thing
Hmm.
is, like, I don't even know why I went to therapy. Like, there's no true reason why, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I just know I need to go.
Right. Right. Right.
It's just like I know there were some things I need to work on, and I think I've probably I've done a fantastic job of like picking myself up from like where I used to be, of like being
Hmm.
like super super down and like just thinking life was miserable every single day, right? I've picked myself up from that, and now I think like I've gone as far as I can go on my own,
Right.
at least for now, until I get some more tools to continue the journey of self-realization that I'm on.
I mean, that's dope that you. I mean, you felt compelled to do it, and you took the leap.
Yeah.
Because it. I mean, that's the biggest thing, and I think with anything in life is just actually just crossing over that threshold of like, okay, I'm in it. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
You know.
And how did you go about finding your therapist?
I got referred. My cousin is a therapist, and she had sent me like a couple different therapists,
Hmm.
and I had a consultation with her. I have a black woman
Okay.
for my
Is
therapist,
she
and
older than you?
I can't tell
Oh, really?
honestly. Yeah, she might be a little bit younger. She might be in her
Black don't
30s.
crack. She could be like 75, looking like she's 20.
Word. This is like my grandma, man. Damn.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can bring that wisdom.
she and we had a consultation, and I was like, I had a couple consultations lined up, and when we met, I was just like, yes,
Yeah.
this is it.
Now, are you with a psychologist or a clinical social worker?
She's a psychologist.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You?
He's a family and marriage therapist. I didn't know that because I went to psychologytoday.com.
Okay.
And I just figured, I'm like, everybody on here's going to be a psychologist, right? So I was like, all right,
Yeah, yeah.
psychologisttoday.com. It's a fantastic resource as well. Like, you type in where you're at, you can choose to sort people by, if you want to do in office or virtual, you can choose by gender, by any other issues that are up there, right? Insurance,
Hmm.
non-insurance. So it's a fantastic resource, psychologytoday.com. But yeah, I punched it in. I saw who was closest to me. Not like that, but like I saw who was close in the area, and I started just like going down because I want an in office visit. I don't want to do virtual. I mean,
Right, right,
the
right.
walls are thin here, so I don't want my stuff like being heard By the way, I got to get a place that I can just like,
You need a safe space.
safe space. And then if I really break down, it's not too far of a drive home by myself. So
Right.
I picked a place that's up the street.
Did you consciously pick a male therapist?
Yeah, I wanted to pick a male therapist. I was actually specifically looking for a black male therapist, but there's not a lot in this area. So I was like, all right, I chose another person of color,
Okay.
who I feel can at least understand like certain issues, like we talked about earlier in the
Right.
episode, right?
Right.
So even though we're not like of the same race, we still have like certain life lived experiences that are going to be similar that we can relate on. So that's why I chose him for that. But I didn't know he was a marriage and family therapist, which I guess in turn is a fantastic thing because it helps with those interfamily relationships, right? Those dynamics.
Oh my God. Yeah,
and
100%.
yeah, and just being a newly married man, I realize there's probably things I got to understand about that, right? Like understanding that it's not 100% on me, even though like I do want to provide and take care of my wife and the future family. It's not 100% on me to make sure happiness is at 100% every single day.
Right.
Right. And that sounds very selfish in a way to say, but at the end of the day, it's the reality, right? Like you don't have to burden 100% of everything all the time.
Absolutely. But my therapist, she specializes in family like therapy and stuff. And that's one thing. So like, through a breakup, I take on a lot of the responsibility for myself. And I know it's not good, but I think I try to like look at the things I could have controlled, and then I end up taking I own it all. Like, yeah, I could have done this, I could have done this. Would it have really changed anything? I don't know, because there's two sides to a relationship, right? But I can look at it and say, damn, like all these things I could have done. But sitting down with the therapist and unpacking all of that, and it's like, yeah, but she could do this too. Like she could advocate for herself. She can say answer like this or that, and it's like, wow, like it took a load off of like that guilt tripping myself that I was doing of like this is all my fault. All this shit is my fault. But
yeah, because I like from the male perspective, it's 100% not from like the reality of the situation, but from the perception of the situation, right? Like, it's 100% on you to be responsible for every single thing of the relationship.
Absolutely.
So when a relationship doesn't go according to plan, doesn't fully, materialize, then it's obviously on you,
right,
for it failing.
100%. And at the end of the day, like talking about healing, like through these sessions and continuing therapy, I want to get better at the things that I feel like I could have changed myself or had control over. But it takes that pressure off a little bit of like, I mean, you're in this with somebody else too. Like, don't beat yourself up too much. But as a whole, it's like, no, but I know the man that I see in my head that I want to be and you want to get to, and that's what you want to like break down.
I said that same thing. I said that. I told him, I'm like, yo, I have this vision of where I want to go, where I want to be at. And I think a lot of the source of like sometimes, my day-to-day disappointment when it hits is the fact that I'm not there, but also I keep pushing that goalpost a little bit further and further and further, right?
Right.
And he's like, you don't have goals, you have a checklist. I'm like, what's that mean? He's like, you just have these things that you're crossing off, right? And when you have goals, you have the ability to feel accomplished and sit in that accomplishment and take pride in getting to that marker that you want to get to. When you have a checklist, it's like you go shopping. You're just like, I'm gonna throw some milk. Okay, what's next? All right, throw some spinach. Okay, what's next? Eggs. Okay, bam, 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 bam.
You never give yourself the flowers of like hitting something or getting somewhere.
Damn. So he when he said that, I was like, well, damn. I was like, well, okay, you earned your money for today. You earned your money for today. Where's my tissue box at? Because I was like, because I can see how that can materialize itself or manifest itself into a harmful relationship, right? Like, marriage, family, like it can just, it becomes in a way transactional with that kind of mindset,
Right.
versus
Right.
just truly sitting in gratitude and enjoying the moments. So
Yep.
that's the first major takeaway I had from my therapy session is I
I
could
think
go to that
that's
checklist.
really it's dope. It's dope that you had a milestone or a breakthrough
Yeah.
in that regard when you didn't even have like you said like I don't even know why I'm here. I'm just here because I know I should be here, but I don't really know why I'm here. And like right away, it validated exactly why what
Yeah.
was compelling you to go. You know,
Yeah.
that's fucking dope.
And yeah, and I appreciate it because I was like, also I talk a lot. That's another thing as well. I'm like, as I'm talking, he's like, "Well, our time is up." I was like, "Oh, my bad." I was like,
Bro, those hours fly by, right?
I'm like, there's so much more stuff I'm talking. I'm like, sorry. I'm like, I talk like it's like my job to listen. Like, I get that, but you don't know me. I talk a lot because it's my job. Like, I
Right.
talk for a living, right? So I can talk. So I'm going to offer you every single thing.
Yep.
But
Yep.
he's like, on the flip side, it's good because I guess people come to therapy, and he's like, it's pulling teeth sometimes to get them to open
Mm,
up. So I'm not saying that you have to be fully open to take the step to getting into therapy, but also at the same time realize that it's a safe space. And
for
that he
sure.
also told me, like, what you tell me inside here is not going to be, I'm not going to call your spouse, I'm not going to call your family members, whatever,
Right.
unless you're talking about, you have a gun to your head, you're going to kill yourself at 3 o'clock today. Like, even if you have suicidal thoughts, if you say, hey, doc, I'm thinking about going to sleep and never waking up, that's one thing. But if you say,
Yeah.
I'm actively going to off myself 3 p.m. Tuesday, here's a spot, and here's how I'm going to do it, then he has the duty to report. Also, like, if there's like elderly abuse or
Mm-hmm.
child abuse, but like,
Child abuse. Yep.
yeah, so there's certain things they have to report. As long as you're not, engaging in any of that, then it's really a space to talk through those issues that you're having, because oftentimes we feel that we're alone, right? Even,
Yeah.
like, you look at, I can think of Robin Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he hung himself those years ago, feel like you're all alone in these
Right.
situations. Chester Bennington, Lincoln Park.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're all alone, like you have nobody to talk to, and everybody from the outside is wondering, like, you have people, you have this life, you have everything that we think you should have, or everything that we want, right?
Yep.
um but when you're in the thick of it, you can't see anything.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why I think it's super important just to have that outlet, somebody to talk to, and know that it's a safe
Yeah.
space.
Somebody to talk to and being able to find, like you mentioned, like Chester and Robin Williams, and it's like being able to find fulfillment outside of like those things that we think, yes, they're hella successful
Yeah.
and they have
Oh
all these
yeah.
accomplishments and this like life, but like that is empty if you're empty, and to be
100%.
able to find like that verve within yourself, of like I love the man that I am. I'm
Yeah.
not perfect, but shit, we gonna make this shit work.
We gonna make this
It's
shit
like
work, bro.
we gonna make it work. So it's like it's being able to find that fulfillment within yourself that then you can exude and like express outwardly to your wife or your coworkers or your girlfriend or your kids. That
Yeah.
becomes infectious as a man, like to be able to exude that kind of like self fulfillment. I think is really important. I think that for me, I know that's what I'm trying to find in therapy,
Hmm.
like unpacking father relationships and like man, we talked that my father passed away in 2015,
Mm.
and just talking about it now and like recently in sessions, and it's like all these emotions come up that I
Yeah.
had repressed before because we didn't necessarily have a relationship. Is like it felt so cathartic and it felt like freeing in a way, to be able to express those feelings and talk about like the complexities of his him dying. He died from cancer, and like,
Mm.
so just to go back, is like he was dying from cancer. We didn't really have a relationship. uh he had like 6 months to live that I didn't know. He called me like in January of 2015, told me the cancer came back, started hanging out. Then I realized he didn't have much time to live, and there was all these emotions of like, I'm what, 30 something. You've had all this time to spend with me, but now you want me to watch you die, versus like we had all this time to live together,
Yeah.
you know? And it was like all these complexities of that end up repressing on top of like how our relationship was in childhood, that ends up impacting relationships as I got older, and like having this fear of rejection and these resentment things that I'm able to now unpack and understand how it impacts me and like my outward relationships.
Yeah.
That it's like such a dope thing. Like, yeah, it's hard in the sessions and like heavy, but afterwards it's like, man, like that was very freeing and a really great just light bulb moment, you know?
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. And that's one thing I think we should touch on like the next time we do this is that compartmentalization aspect of things,
Mm,
right? Because you can go through your day, like you might think everything is fine, right? But then you also have this ability to, or we have this ability to disassociate,
yep.
from those feelings because we know we got to get this done, right? You got the bills to pay, you got the family that depends on you, you got to get things done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have no time to feel those feelings. So you repress them, you
Yeah.
compartmentalize, you feel numb, and then
Yep.
you start not having the joy. And going back to what you said before we wrap up,
Hmm.
is it's important to have that thing that brings you joy outside of those outward successes that people see. Because he also asked me, he's like, "What do you do for fun?" I was like, "Well, damn." I was like, "How do I?"
When you really think about it,
Yeah,
what's the answer, right?
right.
Like,
What do you do for fun? I was like, I'm like, I play PlayStation, you know, play Fortnite, and it's like, I'm like, well, and then because it's just, I'm like, damn. I was like, what do I do for fun?
right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Yep.
I
Yep.
guess this is fun. Like work is fun, but like people also said, like, because I enjoy working, that's also why I work so much. But like, you also have to have the ability to pull away from work, regardless if you have
Absolutely.
fun or not. It's still you working. You got to have some type of
Absolutely.
fun. So
Yep.
that's one thing I got to work on. And then I realized I kind of now it kind of hit me as you were talking the reason why I think I got into therapy now, but it was like something. It was where I was at years ago before
Hmm.
I went on this thing. It was like one day. Do you ever have like the inner dialogue, right? Like you
All
know,
the time.
yeah. So all like that inner voice, that inner dialogue is like your worst enemy. It
Yep.
will defeat you every single time. And mine
Yep.
just got really, really bad. Like every
Hmm.
single day, just waking up nonstop, just tearing me down. Right from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed, and it was a continuous cycle. And then one day it just hit me. I'm just like, damn. It was like I'm with myself 24/7. I'm the only person I'm with
Hmm.
that long, and I have to find a way to be okay with myself, right? And because I'm out there trying to please everybody else, trying to make everybody else
Right.
happy. And I was like,
Right.
I'm with myself 24/7. I got to make myself, I got to please myself and also make sure that I'm taking care of myself
Yep.
and stop that, whatever, that self-defeating mentality, that dialogue that was tearing me down so much. So it was like, I had that moment, and then like slowly but surely it like, stop. It comes up every now and again still, it's
Yeah.
not as bad as it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
It's not like continuous. Well, I find myself like reverting back, sometimes here and there and just like blurting out certain things I would say back then, you know, but
Yeah. That I mean, that
yeah,
people pleasing too will get you to the point of like you're so worried about everyone else's
yeah,
needs that you aren't taking care of your own. And then when you have a partner and they may or may not be meeting your needs, you like project that resentment onto them.
Ooh,
Or even
yeah.
like not just a partner, but even a parental figure or a kid or a friend,
Yeah.
because you're not taking care of yourself. You're taking care of everybody else but yourself, and you expect someone else to take care of you. Like that's a definitely a thing to be aware of, man.
And with that, I'm gonna give you the last word on that. There's so much we got to talk about, like in the future as
Yeah.
well. Like I still want to hit on that compartmentalization aspect. You mentioned resentment at the end, and also attachment styles.
Yes,
diving into
definitely.
that. So yeah, that's going to come up on a future. What do you call it? Mentality Monday, Mindset Monday.
Mindset Monday.
A future Mindset Monday episode. If at any point you're listening to the conversation and you just want to chime in and, give your thoughts, do this right here.
Leave a message at 213-935-0606.
213-935-0606 is the number. Please do chime in. And I'm going to post in the show notes what I talked about psychology today. It's a fantastic resource. Just click on that. And like we said, you don't have to think anything is wrong in particular to seek help, to go and have a conversation. Just go and do it, because you never know what might pop up and what you might realize, like I did today about myself. So my man, thanks for hopping on with me. Maddox, can I go with
Yes,
Maddox?
sir.
Still Billy?
Yeah.
All right. All right, Billy. Catch you next time, man.
My man, peace.
Free Dope. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get podcasts.